Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, join me, Rob McConnell, as together we'll investigate the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology here on the X-Zone Radio TV show on XZBN and the X-Zone TV channel on Simul TV. Since 1990, the X-Zone Radio TV show has been the place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. Together, we'll investigate UFOs, aliens, ghosts, Bigfoot, psychic phenomenon, lake monsters, conspiracy theories, government cover-ups, the truth embargo, alien abductions, ESP, haunted locations from around the world, and so much more. With over 28 years of broadcasting and more than 4,500 individual guests, the X-Zone is truly a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality, as evidenced by the credibility, integrity, and professionalism of the guests that we bring to our international audience. If you have seen a UFO, had a close encounter, seen a ghost, Bigfoot, lake monster, or a story that you would like to share or have investigated, contact me, Rob McConnell, by sending me your email to xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, or you can call toll-free 1-800-610-7035, extension 143, and on Skype, X-Zone Radio TV. For more information on the X-Zone Radio TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, visit www.xzoneradiotv.com or www.xzonetvchannel.com or simultv.com and xzbn.net. Until next we meet here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, always remember, X-Zone Nation, keep your eyes to the sky and your heart in the light.
Welcome to another edition of Cal's Corner Radio here on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. My name is Kal Korff and I'm your host. The executive producer of the show is Rob McConnell. Folks, as I say at the beginning of every episode, I'll do it again because it's true, we cover everything from politics to the paranormal, basically, which is a lot of different subjects. And so you never know what we're going to talk about. I often don't know until we broadcast. And as you can tell, a lot of times this thing is usually completely unscripted, and that's okay. That's the way I like it. I like it to be organic. So let's talk about politics real quick. Impeachment, that's on a lot of people's minds. Actually, most Americans now are actually tired of the subject based on polls. And soon, the public, for better or for worse, will get to see the live hearings about all this impeachment wonderfulness, whatever it is, and whatever case that may or may not be there, especially the testimony of John Bolton, the former National Security Advisor. When he testifies, who knows what he's going to say? We know he's not a fan of Trump's, but whatever he says, it better be backed up by facts. So let's hypothesize here that history repeats itself, meaning that the last impeachment, which was against Bill Clinton, he got impeached, period. But they didn't enforce it. So consequently, he served out the rest of his second term in office. In fact, his popularity went up after he got impeached. Now, at the time, the different parties controlled different parts of the government, meaning the Senate versus Congress. You had the Democrats controlling the Senate, and of course the Republicans controlled the Congress. So guess how the Republicans voted? To impeach him. Duh. Now, how did the Democrats do in the Senate? Nah, not going to enforce it. Now, was Clinton a Democrat? Yeah, he was the head of the Democratic Party. What a coincidence, huh, folks? So now we got the same dynamic again, only the opposite. Democrats control the lower house, Congress, okay? And you can thank the Republicans for the fact they're back in power. The Republicans are that stupid. And then you have the Senate. And they're, of course, going to do what Trump says, because without Trump, they wouldn't be in power, period, let alone control the White House. See, they didn't even want Trump to be their nominee. It was supposed to be good old boy Ted Cruz or Mitt Romney. Didn't work out that way. Voters had other ideas. All right, so let's say that he gets impeached by Congress. Now he goes to the Senate. And yes, Supreme Court Justice, Roberts will preside over the hearing. Fine, that's procedure. And then when the Senate refuses to really do anything, because, they can't even vote to get a wall built, right? Even though they support the president. The whole thing is a circus. So what's going to happen? It's going to be, again, just uh, a stalemate, a divided government. I don't see any evidence that they're going to say, yes, impeach him, get him out of there, bring Pence on board, and put Nancy Pelosi one step closer to the presidency. I just don't see it happening. Maybe I'm wrong, we'll see, but that's my psychic prediction using my non existent psychic powers. Okay, enough about politics. Let's switch now to the so called paranormal. Now, in the last 2 years, it's been rather interesting because the pendulum once again is swinging back in the direction of the mainstream media gets all gaga and goo-goo over paranormal stories, and especially stories about UFOs, because let's be honest, folks, that's low-hanging fruit. It's easy to do. In fact, if some UFO story appears somewhere, another major publication could just write a summary of that, and it's a major story. And then lately, it's all about click-throughs, let's be honest, and ratings and rankings and views, eyes on the screen. Drudge Report will run the UFO reports, sometimes a couple times a week. Yes, this disclosure thing, this whatever, it just is reached a whole new level. And then at some point, something will happen where it either burns itself out or implodes again, or maybe a major terrorist attack like 9/11 happens, and then maybe Americans realize they have better things to do with their time than to worry about getting abducted and, anal probed or something. And then what will happen is the media won't cover the subject. They won't touch it for a while. So it goes in and out of cycles. And we've seen the pendulum swing back and forth. Now it's back on the everything's good side. Let's all go for it. And this is where you really have to be careful. Because let's be honest and break this down here. This all really started, this love fest, in December of 2017. So for all practical purposes, 2018. When the New York Times ran their story about the, secret Pentagon program that studied UFOs that was set up by former Senator Harry Reid, conspiring with two other senators using black budget money. They took $22 million without any oversight, no debates, no nothing. Harry Reid admits they didn't want any of that. And they put a contract out to bid, wink, wink, and it goes to, surprise, the only guy who bids for it, which, surprise, happens to be billionaire real estate mogul Robert Bigelow, who is not only, surprise, a donor to Harry Reid, but he's a longtime friend who, of course, has studied the paranormal. Surprise, so it's one big happy family. And what happened, believe it or not, and you can look this up, I'm not making it up. In fact, I don't think Hollywood could make this up. It's so bizarre and unbelievable, but yet true. And of course, at least based on my short life, my experiences, especially in 27 different countries around the world, the truth is almost always more stranger than any professed or imagined fiction, even passed off as truth. Believe me, I was shocked that Roswell was caused by mogul. And Jesse Marcel was a liar. And we can come back to that anytime you want. But let's get back to this point here about Harry Reid and Bigelow. So what happens is Bigelow meets with Harry Reid. And of course, Bigelow can meet with Reid anytime he wants to. That's what you get when you are friends and you've got money. And of course, Bigelow owns a hotel chain. Okay. And what happened is he shows him a letter that talks about paranormal activity at Skinwalker Ranch in Utah. Ooh. And that just happens to be a property, surprise, that Bigelow owns. Wow, what are the odds? Imagine that, the paranormal, whatever it is, decides it's just going to go bug Bigelow on his property, Skinwalker Ranch. Okay? And so basically they need money to study this because, could be a threat to the U.S. Yeah, okay, yeah, right. Yeah, well, what, suicide ghosts? I don't know. Anyway, then there's the UFO thing. That's always been there because Bigelow's been into that thing for many, many years. And of course, his scammer in chief, and that's what I call him. And I don't care what this guy thinks of my opinion of him. It's constitutionally protected. I can also defend it as a journalist now in the process of exposing this guy, Dr. Hal Puthoff. He's the scammer in chief. He's been involved in techno scams for decades, folks, going back to the 1970s with Stanford Research Institute, being fooled by people like Uri Geller. That takes special talent. And of course, Hal Puthoff used to endorse the E-meter from Scientology, the E-meter. Yeah, he used to think that it showed something really like, you'd have to ask Hal Puthoff. You can easily look on the internet and see the letter he wrote years ago trying to plead with mainstream science to take this device seriously. No, they didn't, because they knew better. Shame on Puthoff for not knowing better. You know, it just gets worse from here. According to the CIA former deputy director of science and technology charter there, Dr. Ron Pandolfi, of all people, he says that Dr. Hal Puthoff imported the Russian gyroscopic time travel anti-gravity device, whatever Joe Fromage says it is now. Who knows? You have to ask him. He makes it up. At so-called InterNASA, he imported it for him, sold it to him. Apparently, that's what Pandolfi claims. And Pandolfi's involved in that scam, too. Hal Puthoff was involved. Again, Joe Fromage, they're all going to go to court. The papers have been refiled. I just wrote an expose called Here Comes the Judge, as a salute to, famous comedian Phil Wilson. And, they're going to go to court. Judge is going to question former CIA guy Pandolfi, and it looks like Congressman Marriott. And Hal Puthoff sold Skinwalker Ranch, it seems, to Brandon Fugel. Yes, the Brandon Fugel, the real estate dude. And, surprise, there's a series coming out about Skinwalker Ranch and how paranormal and special it is, and weird and strange, and wow. So Harry Reid said, we got to investigate this. So he gives $22 million to Bigelow, and it's paranormal one-stop shopping. Think about it. Everything's going on at Skinwalker, and it's owned by Bigelow. Hey, and of course they got, Bigelow's guys in there with the ATIP project. It's like a vertical monopoly. All Harry Reid has to do, all the U.S. government has to do, is just ask Bigelow and his guys and read what the truth is about UFOs and the paranormal, Skinwalker Ranch, everything's going down there. They don't need billions of dollars in the form of other equipment and agencies and entities and spies. They can stop all of that. Everything's going down in Utah, or it's happening at the, Nimitz Carrier Strike Group, right? The Tic Tacs. Oh, it's all one big happy family there. No, it's not. It was a techno scam, a fraud. And there was a whole lot of stuff that was going in there. And what's going on now that the first part of 3 has been published, starting with Here Comes the Judge, because unless something comes out of left field here, it's going to court, and the judge is not happy. I promise you. Well, we'll discuss that in a few minutes after the commercial break here, and we'll continue to break this down and show how all of these techno scams are tied to each other. We'll be back after this break.
It's hard to listen to the news without realizing we're living in volatile, unprecedented times. Yet never has there been such an opportunity to transform the human condition. As old structures fail, where can we find the guidance to co-create a better way? Find Your Path Home is an ever-evolving, leading-edge information, education, and healing resource center designed to support and guide you on your path to unity and enlightenment. Based on sound principles employed by shaman worldwide, we provide techniques that can support you through the current transitions, offering online shamanic classes, international long-distance shamanic healing sessions, complimentary Mission Evolution radio episodes and Stairway to Heaven TV vignettes, seminars, retreats, and much more. All of this can be found on findyourpathhome.com.
So I was watching the X Zone TV channel last night when I was abducted by aliens, and they kept repeating to me over and over again, simultv.com, simultv.com.
What's simultv.com?
That's what I asked them. They had it written on the side of their UFO.
How do you spell that?
UFO.
No, I mean simultv.com.
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 Right. simultv.com.
Interesting that you were abducted by aliens in a simultv.com UFO last night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I remember now last night I was awakened from a deep sleep. My great-grandmother was standing there. She said she'd come from the hereafter to tell me about simultv.com. She even spelled it out for me. simultv.com, sonny boy.
simultv.com.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, you'll never guess what my psychic guru just told me.
simultv.com.
Exactly. Are you guys psychic too?
Of course.
We all know about simultv.com. simultv.com.
Shamanic healing is the key to personal empowerment. Why? All four levels of our being, physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, must be addressed for us to enjoy balanced, healthy, abundant lives. Yet there are few provisions for spiritual or energetic healing. Shamanism, found at the root of all cultures, is a very effective spiritual healing modality. To find quality shamanic healing you can trust, regardless of where you live, look no further than Find Your Path Home Long-Distance Shamanic Healing Program. All Path Home long-distance healing practitioners have been trained and certified through Path Home Shamanic Art School. Change your life. Live abundantly. Schedule a long-distance shamanic healing session with Gwilda Wiyaka or one of her quality practitioners today at findyourpathhome.com.
Welcome back to the second segment here on Cal's Corner Radio on the X Zone Broadcast Network. My name is Kal Korff, and I'm your host. The executive producer of the show is Rob McConnell. Folks, again, we cover everything from politics to the paranormal, wide variety of subjects on the show. Before I forget this, because I was talking to Rob during the break here on the commercials, politics, I forgot to talk about Kamala Harris. Let me do that real quick, then we'll get back to the UFO stuff, okay? Before I forget, because I'll forget again, the Iowa caucuses are coming up. And what happened is, in the last presidential election for Daily World newspaper from India, I covered every single primary. And I'm honored to say, for better or for worse, that I had a 100% accurate track record, even predicting that Donald Trump would win in an upset. To a person, every single journalist I know of that argued with me on it, all was for Hillary. They kept even quoting the New York Times with their 94% certainty that, Hillary was going to win. And my coverage of the election repeatedly documented, because I was talking to a lot of Americans, granted from India, but, it's possible, technically, hello. And I could tell that something just wasn't right here, meaning the way that CNN, MSNBC, and the mainstream media was covering the election, it bore no reality to what I was hearing from fellow Americans on the ground in enough cross-samplings around the country where I felt confident to make the predictions that I did, do the analyses that I did, and I ended up with a 100% track record. And I was surprised. And I figure out, if I could figure this out, and I'm not an expert on this, I admit that. This was the first presidential election I covered from top to bottom as a journalist for a major newspaper. I'm doing it again for the one coming up. And I'm going to tell you what I think is going to happen, again, based on my analysis. I promise you, I don't have any psychic powers. They just don't exist. Okay? Deal with it. All right, I predict this. First of all, a very interesting development here. I've always said that Kamala Harris never had a chance in this election, that it was a complete waste of money if you're going to donate to her campaign. She's a Hillary Clinton wannabe. And she isn't going to make it this time. She might make it next time. Who knows? I find that very scary, to be honest with you. I know a lot about her. They talked about her a lot in India because, of course, she's half Indian. And, of course, in India, anytime anybody, even with one atom of Indian genes in them, makes it big in the West, especially in the good old USA, it's a big deal in India. It's actually way overblown. So it's interesting to see what Indians think of famous Bollywood celebrities like Priyanka Chopra. And when she makes it big in the U.S., there's quite a contrast often between what they say and think about her back where she's from versus the image, let's say, or the hype, whatever, perception in the U.S. Very different. Regarding Kamala Harris, she's a scary candidate. She's not this progressive person at all. She's a phony. And not coincidentally, her prosecutorial track record and how she voted, a lot of those files have been removed, not coincidentally, actually about 6 weeks ago, ever since people started pointing out the hypocrisy of her claims now, where she says she stands, and then she says, I've always been this way, when her record proves the opposite. So according to the polls, she didn't even qualify enough for a round in the debate. And then she's polling at 3 or 4%. If you believe the polls, keyword if here, who knows? So let's say that those polls maintain their numbers. That means she's not going to place in the top 3. Or if she comes in 4th, it'll be a distant 4th. And then what is she going to do? She's supposed to go on to New Hampshire and the East Coast after Iowa. Well, good luck with that, because what she has done is she has closed up all her offices there. What's she going to do? Open up, set up a tent? She's gone. She is focusing everything now on Iowa. So to use an analogy, she is taking the hands at a crap table, rolling them, and she's either going to come up a winner or not. I predict she's going to come up a loser because she doesn't have the support. Nobody wants her. I have yet to meet a single American, and I talk to many of them every day, who supports her. And nobody I know of from California supports her. Interesting. Maybe there is somebody out there. I don't know. Anyway, so my prediction is that she's going to drop out, and she's going to end up a big bust like Beto O'Rourke. In fact, my reaction is, what took you so long? Why did you waste $14 million? What a waste. Just like it was a waste to back Jeb Bush when he ran for president. That was what, 40, 50 million bucks? That was wasted because everybody knew it wasn't going to work, but people wasted the money anyway. Now we come to a scenario that I find even more scary than the idea of Kamala Harris running for president. The idea that some Dumbocrat who will become the nominee, whoever that is, on the Democrat side, will throw her a life preserver in the way that Barack Obama resurrected the careers of both Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden, and choose her as a Veep candidate and put her one heartbeat away from the presidency. That is scary. I would vote for the other side just to keep that scenario from happening, especially if Biden ends up being the nominee for the Democrats and he chooses Kamala Harris as the so-called symbol of passing the torch to the next progressive generation. Excuse me, I want to throw up, because that's just pukish. It's completely BS, bullschlacken, and you know what that term means. So this is a nightmare scenario, and the Democrats are just dumb enough to do that. And Biden, my God, he's not all there, folks. Let's be honest. You can troll out any surgeon you want and says, yeah, we fixed him. Yeah, well, okay. Well, look at Trump's doctor. He told the truth too, right? That's not proof, folks. The proof is in what he says. And when I see him making a point to jog down the runway, oh, yeah, that's just a coincidence, Joe. You're real convincing there. No, you don't jog all the time because you don't do that. You're just trying to appear vigorous. Well, how about popping some Viagra, then jogging and coming out in tight pants, showing how vigorous you are then? The whole thing is just a stupid circus. The fact is, Biden's old. He's over the hill. it's beyond gas at this point. Yeah, he's got a lot of experience. Well, my God, if 20 people have to explain something to him, the crisis might move past him by then. It's bad enough when Trump doesn't listen to his intel briefings, and that's an undisputed fact. All right. Now, then you got Bernie Sanders. Well, I'm sorry. I'm not sure I want to support someone who just had a heart attack. I don't care who it is. All right, you got Elizabeth Warren. Well, she's becoming the front runner, but let's be honest here. If your objective is to win, put someone in the White House other than Trump, could Elizabeth Warren win the national election if she were the nominee from the Democrats versus Trump? I don't know. She certainly couldn't do it if she picked Kamala. There's no way two women are going to work, not that combination. I don't know who's her nominee, who's her VP candidate going to be. Bernie Sanders? I don't think that's going to work, although the idea of him riding roughshod over the Senate and calling out the Republicans, I'd pay money to see that. That's worth buying popcorn. So I don't know how that's going to hold out. You can't throw Cory Booker in there. Come on, you want to lose the election to Trump? So this is a real problem here. Now you got Bloomberg jumping in, and this is what made me think of Kamala Harris. I forgot about her earlier because Rob had mentioned that during the break. Now you got Bloomberg in there, and of course he has, let's be honest, he's a bit jealous of Trump. He wishes he were the billionaire in the White House. He's tried to run before. He may try to do it as an independent. He may actually think he can beat Trump. Well, I don't think he can. I don't think most Americans feel that he can. There's no evidence, objective-wise, that he can. In fact, he is so clever in running for president that Bloomberg has said he's not going to bother with Vermont. He's not going to bother with New Hampshire or Connecticut. I think he's blown off 2 of the 3 eastern states that are lined up next. What's he going to do? Save it all for Pennsylvania? Well, I guess when you're a billionaire and you've got money to burn and waste, you can do that. So this is kind of a Ross Perot stunt, for lack of a better term. Those who were all excited over Ross Perot, just remember why it is that he said he quit, and then try to rationalize and justify that using logic or common sense. Doesn't hold up. Then, of course, his ego got the better of him again. Then he jumped back in, but he never recovered from his own self-inflicted debacle. So I've always said that there is a possibility. It still remains a possibility, especially if Trump comes out of this without being impeached. Or again, we have divided government. He said, she said. Democrats support this. Republicans support the opposite. The Democrats, one of the reasons I often call them Dumbocrats, when I feel they deserve it, they do dumb things. They're dumb enough to hand the White House to Trump again. They did it already once. And let's be blunt, folks. The greatest legacy of Obama can be defined by 2 things. Obamacare, how's that working out for you? And Trump's in the White House. If everybody wanted an extension of the great Obama era, Hillary would be in there and not the Donald. The fact that the Donald's in there, especially the way he won, proves that people wanted real change, not more chump change. Now they got, I don't know what kind of change. I call it shortchanged. All right, enough about that. We will be back after this break, and we'll switch gears now and get back to UFOdom and the paranormal.
Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, join me, Rob McConnell, as together we'll investigate the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology here on the X-Zone Radio TV show on XZBN and the X-Zone TV channel on Simul TV. Since 1990, the X-Zone Radio TV show has been the place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. Together, we'll investigate UFOs, aliens, ghosts, Bigfoot, psychic phenomena, lake monsters, conspiracy theories, government cover-ups, the truth embargo, alien abductions, ESP, haunted locations from around the world, and so much more. With over 28 years of broadcasting and more than 4,500 individual guests, the X Zone is truly a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality, as evidenced by the credibility, integrity, and professionalism of the guests that we bring to our international audience. If you have seen a UFO, had a close encounter, seen a ghost, Bigfoot, lake monster, or a story that you would like to share or have investigated, contact me, Rob McConnell, by sending me your email to xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, or you can call toll-free 1-800-610-7035, extension 143, and on Skype, X Zone Radio TV. For more information on the X Zone Radio TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, visit www.xzoneradiotv.com or www.xzonetvchannel.com or simultv.com and xzbn.net. Until next we meet here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, always remember, X Zone Nation, keep your eyes to the sky and your heart in the light.
Welcome back to the third segment here on Cal's Corner Radio and the X Zone Broadcast Network. My name is Kal Korff. I'm your host. The executive producer of the show is Rob McConnell. All right, again, enough about politics. We'll come back to it as news warrants. Next show maybe, depends on what breaks. Obviously, the impeachment thing will be further along, whichever way it goes. Right now, it's absolutely along political lines. Until we see the evidence, we haven't seen it. All right, switching now to the paranormal and UFOdom. I want to back up in time to actually several decades ago. And I want to explain something to everyone who's listening to this, because I'm going to keep hammering home on this point until it makes sense not to do it anymore. Now, what happened was on October 19th, I spent a little over 9 hours, the whole day, meeting with a bunch of people online, showing them 10 different projects that have been in the works, several of them for years, off and on, and of course started in other countries. Others started here, then were continued in places like India and Europe, then finished in the US. And I went through all of this stuff, and the reaction was rather interesting because there were people who believed it and didn't believe it. And then I started putting slides from the event on my Facebook page, kind of like, here you go, take it or leave it. And then, of course, people, it was interesting. Those who doubted it just didn't say anything, or they remain in denial of what is coming out. And I find that hilarious and very interesting, because at least now, people who follow this stuff on the internet, and I'll be happy to talk about these people on video very soon, I promise you, will see a trail here online of how some of these bozos are, and they are bozos. And let me explain what I mean by that term, because I'm not trying to engage in name calling, although it may sound like it. If I tell somebody that was a stupid thing to do, and it was stupid, and I can defend that view, I'm not name calling. I'm not saying the person is stupid. I'm saying you did a stupid thing. Now let me make up an example of a stupid thing. I wet my fingers. I put them in an electrical socket. I get shocked. I go to the hospital. It's my fault. I need my safe space. That's an example of a stupid thing that somebody would do. And people do it. They do stupid things. People believe in stupid things. I'll give you a very blunt example of what is an oxymoron type stupid belief, but I was surprised as anybody when I saw it firsthand in India shortly after I arrived. When I arrived in India, shortly after I'd gotten married to an Indian woman, that's why we moved to India. I had moved from Europe to India. We lived briefly in Ludhiana. Now, I wouldn't wish Ludhiana on my enemies. It's a very dirty, polluted city, ugly. The industrial belt, you're lucky if the electricity doesn't go off 4 or 5 times a day. Pollution like you can't believe. It's not pretty, okay? Being very blunt, Ludhiana is one of the dirtiest, most polluted cities in all the world. It's in the top 10. And it's perennially there like Delhi. So what happens is I'm meeting all kinds of educated Indians, very brilliant people, scientists, a lot of doctors, real medical guys who can do major surgeries. And I'm like, wow, these guys are really smart. Their houses look like palaces. They're enormous 3-story dwellings, 2-3 stories. Very big compared to Western standards. That's what they love to do in Punjab, show off all their material stuff. Okay, and I'm looking at these flags on the balconies of these houses. There's a lot of them. There's like 10 in a row. And they're all the same. Some have symbols on them, some don't. But they're red, okay? And I'm like, wow, must mean something. Political party, some national thing, some state thing, some, I don't know what. And then I noticed in probably half the houses where these flags are, and they're different colors again, that there's this mask that looks like kind of a mask that you'd see in Taiwan. You can see some Thai type influence, and it's got its tongue sticking out like in your face. Like, okay, I don't know why that's up there. And I thought, first time I saw it, oh, that's just the way they like to decorate their balcony. And then I'm noticing many houses have this same kind of mask, almost identical. And they kind of have a pattern as to where they put this mask. So finally I ask what's going on, because I'm starting to get to know people there, and they're introducing me as this guy who exposes paranormal and all that. And in India, almost everybody believes in that stuff. There are people who actually open and close businesses based on what their astrologer says. Believe it or not, the Daily Post newspaper that I helped found with the owner, Manish Tiwari, and the team of people that launched this, I was hired to be part of that team. He made the decision when to launch the paper based on what the astrologer said. And I remember being a special advisor and head of HR and a bunch of other things while I was there for years. I said, sir, are you serious? Why can't we launch it on a date that you want to launch it? Who cares what your astrologer thinks? And of course, they have their own version of astrology over there, which is different from what you get in the newspaper in, say, Canada or the US. They don't call it Western astrology over there. It's Indian astrology. It's very different. Okay, so the paper was launched, Daily Post. When the astrologer said to do it, they had this religious ceremony, the priest, all that stuff. I just watched, filmed it, took photos. I'm not into that. I'm the only white guy there, the only Gora. I'm a Jew, so not going to fly with me. So getting back to the story about the flags in the balconies, one day I'm visiting this nice family. They're doctors. One's a teacher, the other's a doctor. And I said, what is it with the flags? You got a lot of them, Well, they told me it's to ward off evil spirits. Yeah, they fly the red flag and those evil spirits just stay the you-know-what away. Okay. What about the mask? Same thing. It's like double protection. And some balconies just have that, I know that when I lived in Chandigarh, the balcony to the left of me, well, there was a mask when I moved there. I took it off because I don't believe in that. So it accidentally fell off my balcony, and I never bothered retrieving it, and the owner didn't care. But when I lived in Chandigarh, to the left of me in the balcony was a gold swastika. And I thought that was ironic because I'm Jewish. So I made sure my photo was taken with it to say, hey, look at this, Because over there, the swastika means a very different thing in Indian culture. It doesn't mean you're a supporter of Hitler or the Nazis. Hitler usurped or basically stole that image, twisted it, and made it more infamous, and forever identified with, of course, the Nazis and him and genocide. Okay, so I'm told that these flags keep away evil spirits. The mask keeps away evil spirits. And you can Google this, or you can ask fellow Indians, especially Punjabis, and they'll confirm that these things do that. Well, I don't believe they do. I think if you fly a flag, you fly a flag. I think if there is an evil spirit, I don't believe in them, but let's pretend they exist. I don't think a flag's going to scare an evil spirit. If it's talented to be a spirit and mess with you and be evil, which means bad intent, it's certainly clever enough to get past a piece of cloth blowing in the wind. Hello? Come on. Anyway, I'll share another example with you. We're in a rickshaw going over this bridge, and I see these Indians on the side of the road, and they're throwing bricks over the side of the bridge down into the creek, and the creek is dry. And I'm like, wait, why are they doing this? That's terrible. Why are they dumping their stuff? They shouldn't do this. And they said, no, they're not polluting. Don't worry about it. Because Ludhiana is so polluted. What Indians do, and it's a fact, they just throw their trash on the ground. And if you don't believe me, ask anybody online. There's tons of photos of it. It's shameful. They will buy, say, something from their street vendors, and they're everywhere, the street vendors. And assuming the food doesn't give you what's called Delhi belly, and I never had it till I went to India, had it 7 times. Really bad ones. What they do is after they finish eating on their paper plate, they just throw it on the ground. That's it. And that's if you can even find a trash can. Okay. That's the way they are. It's wrong. Doesn't matter who's doing it. It's wrong. So these guys, and I'm seeing this and it pushes my buttons, and I'm seeing these guys throw bricks over the side into this creek that is dried up because they can't manage water the right way there. Ridiculous. They got 5 rivers. And it comes from the glaciers, some of the Mount Everest, the tallest mountain in the world, and they still can't manage the flow of river from top to bottom, gravity powered. Hello. And they're on the coast and they have a water shortage. Again, go figure. All right, back to this issue. So we stop, and they told me, don't say, they're not polluting. I go, what do you mean they're not polluting? They're throwing the bricks right there. I mean, come on. Right? No, they're doing it for good luck. I'm like, what? Yeah, they went and saw the astrologer, and the astrologer said to essentially repent. They're trying to translate for me. For something they did that was wrong, they had to take these bricks from some place and throw them over the bridge into the creek. And then everything would be fine in the universe. And I'm like, oh my God, they really believe this stuff. So I told my friend, we'll be back after the commercial break.
If you are looking for a safe, zero-calorie natural option to the harmful artificial sweeteners on the market today, Just Like Sugar is what you're looking for. Just Like Sugar is a wonderful natural alternative for those health-conscious people who choose a calorie-restricted diet with a great, pure, sweet flavor that tastes just like sugar. Just Like Sugar is a great natural option for people suffering from diabetes and may be useful in restricted diet programs where standard sugars are not allowed and does not cause a laxative effect of some other sweeteners. Just Like Sugar comprises a perfect blend of chicory root fiber, natural calcium, natural vitamin C, and Just Like Sugar's sweetness comes from the natural flavors from the peel of the orange. Just Like Sugar is a natural alternative to harmful artificial sweeteners and will change the way that you believe all natural sweetener products taste. Just Like Sugar is available at your local Whole Foods markets, Wild Oats markets, Henry's, Sun Harvest, and many other fine natural food stores in the U.S., Canada, and worldwide.
They are here, and they've been here for thousands of years, making their presence known in the shadows. They might be seen by a lonely motorist on a deserted road late at night, or by a frightened and confused husband in the bedroom he is sharing with his wife. But who are they? What do they want? Why are they here? Perhaps most concerning, has the government been aware of their presence all along? The new book by Ellie Marzulli, UFO Disclosure, The 70-Year Cover-Up Exposed, delves into the world of UFOs. Can full disclosure be soon? Order now and receive a free hour and 37-minute DVD on the UFO phenomenon. UFOs are real. Get both the book and the DVD, a $40 value, for only $19.99. To order your book and DVD today, go to lamarzulli.net. That's LAMARZULLI.net.
You have heard of the X Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X-Zone, Sci-Fi, and Horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world, interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
Memorable dynamic presentations are a not-so-secret weapon in the business world. Do you have a powerful message that must be shared, but you haven't found a way to deliver that message? Do you want to be known as a top public speaker who gets amazing results? Are you ready to create and deliver your powerful message? Thomas Hides can help you create and deliver your speech to get the results you desire. Visit iconquality.com.
Did you expect your business to flourish, but instead it plateaued or didn't get off the ground yet? Would you like to achieve massive goals and discover new sources of income within your business? When you're ready to experience that type of success with fast results, Cindy Hendricks is the business coach for you. Her work with entrepreneurs and business owners has been life-changing. To get you and your business where you want to be, go to imaginemoresuccess.com.
Has the fear of public speaking stalled your business or personal life? What would you give to develop and maintain supreme confidence? Have an invaluable private program to always perform at your best. Imagine how you would feel. You can have all that and so much more today with Thomas Hides' life-changing course called Number One Fear Unleashed. Visit numberonefear.com and be liberated from your fear of public speaking.
Welcome back to the fourth and final segment here on Cal's Corner Radio and the X-Zone Broadcast Network. Once again, my name is Kal Korff, and I'm your host. The executive producer of the show is Rob McConnell. Well, as I was saying, I was with my friends, and I said, I got to meet this astrologer. He's just got to be some incredible, powerful guy, because they had told me that he lives in this small little village and that everyone comes to see him and pays him money and gives him things, and he just makes it all work, And wow, got a live fish there by the hook here. Got to go investigate this. So I told my friends, I said, this guy is full of you-know-what. I'm going to nail him and expose him because it's BS. And I'm going to do it, and I don't care what people think. So after some negotiation, meaning some hesitation, they made an appointment for me. And I go there to see the mighty astrologer. And he's operating out of basically a roll-top garage type thing, that you could just shutter easily and go to lunch and come back, 30 minutes later. They have these things. It's old over from the British colonial days. Okay, so he's sitting there and, of course, you got to do the 3 cups of tea. And basically, after some small talk, because, they either do or don't play games with foreigners, let's be blunt. Especially Americans. So after the small talk is aside, and, my friends are keeping a straight face and they're vouching for how this guy has all these powers and the gift, I said, well, I have a problem. I said, I need you to help me emotionally deal with the loss of my dog. And I start going on about my dog and how close we were and all that. And this guy's taking it all in. And I'm totally making this up. I've never had a pet in my life. And people who know me probably says it shows. I love animals, don't get me wrong. My family, grew up on ranches, all that stuff. But I've never owned a pet because I can't put them on an airplane and go to 27 different countries. It just doesn't work. So I'm going on about my dog, and I couldn't even remember the name I said at first. I'd forgotten. And this guy didn't even notice. So he's telling me, that based on the chart that he did for me and all that stuff, and I even gave him the wrong birth date. See, he should have known all of this stuff because, he's a psychic and he's an astrologer. And because he's got psychic powers and uses the power of the stars and the planets and where they're aligned and your birth and all that other whatever, they just make it up. He's super duper guy. So what happened was these people were shocked. They were shocked that this guy would just make it up. And I'm thinking, hello? It just blows my mind that people don't think critically. And when I say that, it's an understatement. Because if somebody says to you, think this through, folks, for a moment, that they have psychic powers, my first comment is prove it. And if you don't know how to prove it, I can come up with some tests for you. In fact, science can easily do that because science is science. And what happens when you take these frauds, and let's be clear, there are some people who really think they are psychic, and they just aren't, but they think they are. I know a person who thinks, honestly, this person, I won't say whether it's a male or a female, this individual honestly believes that inside their tooth is an alien implant. And I will not even discuss that subject with this person. It's not because I'm afraid of the truth. It's because I know better. And because this person really believes this, I would rather have a qualified doctor or dentist with an x-ray tell the person the bad news rather than me as a journalist. But this person really believes it, okay? And it's sad, but nice person. We're friends. Yes, I can be friends with people who think they've been anal probed, okay? All right, now, on the issue of this psychic stuff, they were shocked that he just made it up. They didn't know I didn't have a pet because I didn't tell them what I was going to do. What I decided to do to test this guy was based on what I saw during the 3 cups of tea, sizing each other up. He's passively, aggressively trying to get some information from me, and I was misdirecting him because I know the tricks. I've been around the block a few times. This was not my first rodeo. And I remember the psychic BS when I was in high school, because as newspaper clippings, which are out now, because I finally put them out there, they weren't there on the internet before, they prove that when I was in high school, I was the assistant director of parapsychology and the ufology departments for the Institute of Paranormal Sciences, which worked with SRI in Palo Alto. Yes, Puthoff, all those guys were there at the time. I was in high school. It's in the newspapers, folks. In fact, one of the articles that's from that series is in the current issue of the Skeptical Inquirer. Again, I mentioned this on the show last week. It's an article called The Stanton Friedman That I Knew. Starts off with the title, From Cosmic Watergate to Cosmic Watermelon, The Stanton Friedman I Knew. Because Stanton Friedman's great Cosmic Watergate, as I told him many years ago in high school, Watergate doesn't fit. Bad analogy. Because Watergate was only a political problem, period. In fact, it was the problem of one guy, Richard Nixon, and the bozos he got to commit the crime with him. It wasn't even a problem for the overall Republican Party because they weren't involved in it. It was a Nixon deal, period. And thankfully, he resigned. Good. Okay, but Watergate was, again, a political problem. If UFOs are visiting us with impunity, doing all the stuff that all these disclosure guys lie about, they lie, let's be honest. then it's a national security issue. It's an existential issue. It's wartime. Arm yourselves. It's War of the Worlds, just waiting. But no, that's not what's going on because it isn't really happening. So that's the truth about that. But there are people who really believe it. So seeing all of this stuff for all of these years and being involved in the subject of UFOs going back to October 19th, 1973, as I showed in the slides, and I talked about at this 9.5-hour event, the reason I chose October 19th was because every year I do on the anniversary review what I'm doing on these projects, and I decide to either finish some of them or say, forget it, not important. And some of the decisions were made was, you may remember that we started the Zeta Reticuli conspiracy project back in India. We actually started filming a 2-hour movie. Exactly 61 minutes of that movie were done. I'm going to show in the near future clips from that movie. And let me explain how it evolved. When I was in India, I found out that Stanton Friedman's book, now this is captured, was being optioned by Bryce Zabel. He's a UFO conspiracy believer, MJ-12 nut. He was one of the guys involved in Dark Skies, pro MJ-12. He's a disclosure guy. I have a problem with all that. And here I am, Kal Korff, the only individual, literally, who ran the trap on the Hill star map with Charles Atterberg, proving that the fish map was not credible, that Atterberg had found a better match, which means the Hill map was worthless, and then the Hipparcos astronomical data, the Hipparcos satellite, whose job is to measure star distances, completely destroys most of the stars on the Hill map. Game over. Friedman knew this, went to his grave, lying to the public, continuing stuck in the 70s, as we used to tease him. We used to say, Stan, you're stuck in the 70s. That's a problem. Even Bill Moore said to me and him, Stan, you're stuck in the 70s. Well, at least Bill Moore endorsed Mogul. He endorsed my book after I ended up exposing Friedman and the original Roswell book. I never had problems with Moore or Friedman. We ended up being friends. And someone I just got to know recently who hosts another radio show, Steve Cambrian, he shared with me what Friedman said about me to him. And it gave me goosebumps. Friedman ended up dying having respect for me and vice versa, even though we agreed to disagree. And Friedman described me as a person who wants to believe, but I'm a skeptic. Yeah, I would like to believe, folks. I would like to believe in whatever is true, because there's nothing wrong with that. If it comes up aliens, I don't care. Wonderful. But if it doesn't come up aliens, that's okay too, because what matters is that we have an answer. And answers always and only matter, even if we don't like them. So, seeing this in India, I had a decision to make. Do I say anything, or do I continue to say nothing? And then when my mother told me that the Atterberg files had been found in the archives, that they survived a flood that had happened where they were stored because of leakage of rain, I was ecstatic. And I got to see the files for the first time. And that's when I partnered with Prashant Bhardwaj of Creativators to do this movie, The Zeta Reticuli Conspiracy. And let me tell you the plot about it, and we'll continue this as we go forward next week. The plot is briefly that I play myself. I live in India. I'm old, past my prime. I gained 40 pounds for the role. And I end up being a judge at a beauty contest. And these two girls win, and they're roommates. One believes in the paranormal, one does not. And I'm their mutual friend. And next week, I'll continue to tell you about the plot and what's coming out in the movie and what we did. Thanks for joining me. We'll be back next week.